Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Philadelphia-based trombonist, vocalist, and educator Hailey Brinnel. We caught up with her on February 9th, 2021 to talk about her latest 2021 CD, I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles. At the age of 12, she began performing throughout New England with her father, Dave Brinnel, and now at 25, she has performed at prestigious venues around the world, independently having played with the best, like Ingrid Jensen, Anat Cohen, and many others. As a part of the Temple University Jazz Band led by Terell Stafford, she has played and recorded with the best around, and she's only going up from here. Get to know her. Dig this interview.
Thanks for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's talk about the release of I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles during a pandemic. Talk to me a little bit about the timing of this and kind of how you feel with the way the world is now.
I finished recording well before the pandemic, so I was very fortunate that I had everything ready to go. But yeah, the game is so different right now because everything is very much focused on social media outreach and what we can do remotely without scheduling shows or anything in person. So it's been a bit of a learning curve trying to get this music out to people in kind of unconventional ways.
From a creative standpoint, how do you feel about the recording? Kind of what do you want the listener to get from this experience?
All these songs are super important to me in terms of I grew up listening to some older jazz tunes, so they brought me a lot of joy to perform, and I kind of want just sort of a sense of joy and comfort that listeners can get by hearing these arrangements.
How did the jazz seed start for you? How did this journey begin for you falling in love with jazz?
My dad is a jazz piano player and a singer, and he's been gigging out ever since I can remember. I grew up listening to mostly Sinatra, Rat Pack sort of thing, some big band, Louis Armstrong. But I started gigging with him when I was 12. So that really solidified it for me because I started performing this music from a pretty young age.
So has performing always been a kind of a natural thing? Do you ever get nervous? How does it work for you when you get on the stage?
Can it be both? I definitely feel like I've been performing forever. It's usually really natural, but I still get nervous. It totally depends on the performance, or sometimes just how I'm feeling that day. I absolutely love performing for crowds. I definitely thrive best in intimate venues where I can really interact with my audience. But yeah, I still get a little nervous sometimes.
Talk to me a little bit about mentors. Who would you credit as like advice that you've gotten that's really been huge for you?
My mentors came mostly from when I was in college, although there's one drummer. He's actually based in where I'm from, near Springfield, Massachusetts, Billy Arnold. And he, when I was a lot younger, kind of put me on the right path of find the thing you're good at. If you put all the effort that you want to put into it and gain joy from it, then it's pretty likely someone else will gain joy from it. I had mentors in college, Greg Kettinger in Philadelphia, Terell Stafford, the great trumpet player who was one of my college professors, sort of getting me rooted in that feeling of it's okay to just want to swing really hard and do my own thing.
So what was the first live jazz show you ever saw that really blew your doors down?
Oh, wow. I have to think about that. I remember seeing Terrence Blanchard at the Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival in Western Massachusetts when I was probably a freshman or sophomore in high school, and I had such a narrow concept of what jazz was or could be from, growing up listening to pretty much pre-1950s jazz and standards. And I remember hearing him do his work that he did with it was recordings of a college professor. But yeah, it was just sort of this I remember being totally blown away by sort of what jazz was becoming, because I really didn't know because I was only listening to Louis Armstrong and the Andrews Sisters.
So, we've been obviously away from live music for a while. When you think back to all of the venues and the things that you've done live, do you have any magic moments that really come to mind that comfort you during this time of no live music?
Definitely. I've been thinking back to performing with the Diva Jazz Orchestra, which is an all-female big band. It's been around since the 90s, led by Sherry Miracle. And we did this show. They did it in several different cities. It was off Broadway in New York, called Tappin' Through Life, a life retrospective of Maurice Hines, the great tap dancer who was the star of the show. But thinking about, I did a 56-show run in Philadelphia, and how just captivated the audience was, and how interactive every single person in the band with the tap dancers were. And I think to that sort of interaction and like, you know, for 56 shows, you might take it for granted, but looking back, like, wow, that was really lucky that we had that and were able to do that for so long, and it felt fresh every night.
What do you miss the most about live performance?
I mean, open bars are nice. No, I really miss those small, intimate shows where, you know, maybe your audience isn't even that big, but just that feeling of playing a standard that I've been working on and I really identify with, you know, a band that I gel with really well, and that feeling when a hush kind of falls over the room because everyone kind of realizes in the moment what's happening is, like, really special. And I know that sounds super cliche, and it's very juxtaposed with the fact that I said open bar a few seconds ago. But, yeah, those sort of moments of, like, connection with the audience and the players.
So what is it about being a musician that you like the best? Every day you wake up and you get to practice your craft. What do you like the best about it?
Well, this is kind of stunk during the pandemic, but working with other musicians. Yeah, the fact that whenever I get to wake up, and even if it's just for fun, going to jam with a friend at their house or record something for fun, yeah, just that's my favorite thing about being a musician, is when I can work with other musicians that have similar but just different enough playing views and sounds that I do, and creating new things spontaneously, which again, not been great over the past year, but
yeah, for sure. So why do you love jazz?
Wow, I never asked myself that. What if I don't? What if I just realized that right now?
Yeah.
So I have oh no. Jazz is just, I mean, it's very cliche, but the true American art form. It's Black American music. It is based in the root of our country and has so much history. And it's music that was meant to dance to. It was party music. It was meant to make people happy at its, you know, when it was established and, you know, down in New Orleans with brass bands. And I just sort of love that feeling of jazz and dancing, joy, and that connection you can get with an audience, especially like early swing, where you don't have to be a jazz fan to know that it's good music.
Talk to me a little bit about Philadelphia. What you know, as an outsider looking in, and you know, it's the land of Coltrane. Talk to me a little bit about the scene and why it's so endearing.
I love Philadelphia. I came here, oh gosh, I guess almost 9 years ago now, to go to Temple University. And it's great because you have a big enough scene, jazz scene that is, that you can always be playing with some new people, finding new people moving here, or that have been here forever. There's a great mix, and you always feel like you're being pushed, but it's small enough that you get a sense of community, whereas maybe in New York it's harder to find that larger sense of community, especially if you've like just moved to New York. But I remember instantly being in Philly, being able to like go to jams and recognize people, and it feels really good to have that sort of sense of community in a big city.
You know, we are going to return to live jazz, and when we do, what do you hope the audience and the musician realizes about this year plus that we're going to be away from live music?
I hope people realize, you know, especially when we're all sitting outside in those weird little outdoor eating bubbles, just how much live music can totally elevate your experience, your nighttime experience, your nightlife experience, your brunch experience, obviously live shows are their own thing, but I hope people realize, like, those little live music gigs that maybe we all took for granted, how much that had been augmenting our experience. Because shows will come back, big shows and stadiums and all that stuff and clubs, but I kind of want people to appreciate the little gigs and the little moments where they hear live music and maybe take it for granted before.
So everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're the one that's living your life. Who do you think you are?
I didn't know this was going to get so existential.
Right.
I don't love to define myself with music, but I always find myself doing it as soon as I start talking about who I am. I am a creative person that just wants a sense of community and being able to exercise creativity. And I like old Jewish comedians. I love going out and finding dive bars. I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but I'm trying to look for non-jazz related things to describe Hailey Brinnel.
That's great. You know, and that's the thing about this. There's no right answer. This is kind of a, you know, you just go, it's like an improv performance. You just take it where it goes. So that's perfect.
Oh, good.
Hailey,
okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for taking some time out. I really appreciate you taking some time after the show today. Good luck with the album and everything as we move forward with live music and everything else.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Philadelphia, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Hailey for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.